go. That's what it's all about. Woo! And we've even copied the dog as well. Yes, we copied the meme perfectly. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, because today, after waiting 5 entire months, it feels like, Vincent Kompany has been confirmed as Burnley manager. Now, I did my video on this like 3 weeks ago. It's been 3 weeks. The 3 weeks we've been told that this is pretty much almost confirmed, and it's been a waiting game for the longest amount of time. They've been testing my patience. They've been testing everyone's patience. Okay, about time. It's done. It's dusted. Vincent Kompany. Now, there's a lot to break down into here. Of course, I've done my initial video a bit of time ago about my kind of initial thoughts. We're going to break down into what I think now. Is this just a big name? I was gonna say signing, but it's a manager appointment. Is it a big name appointment for the sake of a big name appointment, or is this because they actually have some hope and believes that he's going to bring in something and really be a proper good manager? We're going to find out. But tell me down below in the comments, what is your guys' thoughts about Vincent Kompany? Do you guys think it's a big name for the sake of a big name? Or do you think he's actually got what it takes to be a top-level manager? Or at least a decent manager that can get Burnley out of the championship this season? Now, of course, a lot has happened since we last spoke, because in this time period, Burnley, which, by the way, Burnley unfollowed me. Not just me, they unfollowed like a lot of people, to be fair, near like 200 or something followers. So I think they're having like a complete like reset of the social media. So it still hurts, but I hope I will get that follow back soon. I don't think I've annoyed anyone. So no, not yet. Anyway, my ego aside, let's go into what other news. So this happened 4 days ago, right? Which kind of really got a lot of Burnley fans annoyed. Now I know that many Burnley fans will indeed listen and watch this video because, you know, everyone's all hyped up, and the reason why if we kind of needed this news is because some Burnley fans are really freaking out. The fact of the matter is that we've got a lot of players leaving, likes of Ben Mee, likes of James Tarkowski. We already knew Tarkowski was leaving anyway, but Ben Mee's a bit of a surprise. Aaron Lennon, Eric Peters, Dale Stevens, Phil Bardsley, of the main senior players are leaving, which most we already knew. A lot of the deadwood we knew would have to be gone is going, like Lennon and Peters and Stevens and Bardsley. And I would have hoped that Ben Mee would indeed stay. I thought he was going to stay. Sadly not, but I do believe there are things already in place to replace him when he does, most likely. Well, he is going. So there are already plans in place to replace Ben Mee, who will be a massive miss for the club. And honestly, captain, leader, legend, love that man to bits, and I wish him the absolute best wherever he goes. Matty Vizeh and Jack Cork is currently in negotiations of contract extension, and Barnes has also confirmed a contract extension as well. So if I show you this right here, this is the thing which has scared a lot of Burnley fans. So this is like important context for people that may not really know what's really going. This is important context to really see the job that the likes of Kompany has right now at Burnley. So this is what I made 4 days ago, which kind of shows all of the senior players in terms of everyone that we know that's going, and if Cork and Vizeh signs onto their negotiations, which is probably quite likely. So this is what we have. It's a 17-man squad, 4 goalkeepers, 2 centre-backs, 1 left-back, 2 right-backs, 1 right mid, or technically 2 right mids because McNeil could play there as well. Let's just say we've got 3 wide players, and then we've got 3 centre mids with 4 strikers. But in terms of the team that we actually have, that also includes Cornet, that includes Weghorst, who will most likely be going. I mean, Weghorst is confirmed to be going. Cornet, there's still some hope that maybe somehow he could stay. I would say it's unlikely, but you never know. There's also some other names that maybe are a bit also hit or miss, like 50-50. Could they go? Could they stay? Like the likes of a Nick Pope, like the likes of a... There's not really much else really leaked. Maybe a Brownhill has had a bit of attention, but I don't know if he'll be going. Collins as well. We know there's many admirers, but it will cost a bit of money to get him because, well, look at our centre-backs. We've not got many options. He's one of the most viable players that we have. Young player, 21, with great potential and has shown that quality as well. So if he does go, he'll be going for a lot of money. This is our squad right now. This is a job that Vincent Kompany currently has. And if you take out Weghorst, you take out Cornet, we're now left down to 15 senior players. The rebuild right now at Burnley that is underway is huge, massive. Like, we are going to be needing at least, like, minimum, like, what, 7 players, and that's just for decent depth, you know. So you need at least guaranteed, if we keep Collins and Long, then we need at least 2 centre backs in there, maybe 1 left back, probably get rid of 1 goalkeeper, like a Norris or something. Then got to bring in at least 2 wide players if Cornet goes, then at least 1 more centre mid, and then the strikers we could be okay, maybe 1 more striker. But really, like, there's so many areas that need some depth in, because I think quality I think is fine. Like, if you just take this, like, take our best team out of what we have, even if you take out Cornet and Vegos, it's still a very good team for the Championship, in my opinion. Collins and Long. Long is a decent centre-back for the Championship, I think. Not the best for Premier League, but I think for the Championship, I think it'd be fine there. And then you got, if Pope indeed does go, then Hennessy would also be a good replacement for him in the Championship. Then you got Taylor, if he stays, be a good left back. It'd be great, actually, amazing in the Champ, in my opinion. Right back, Roberts, who would also be very good as well. Right mid, well, it'd be Gudmundsson and McNeil as wide players. Of course, Gudmundsson is very, very injury prone, so there's no way to be staying for that long because he will get injured again. And in midfield of Westwood and Cork, or Westwood and Brownhill, or Cork and Brownhill, and strikers, Jerry Rodriguez and Matty Vizeh. That's a good Championship team if we can keep at least those players. And that's even that's removing the likes of Pope and Veghorst and Cornet, who will most likely be ideally imagining you be going. So that's a decent squad. We need some good depth around them, some young players, some fresh players, and that is a job that Kompany has. Of course, Kompany, he's had a job over at Anderlecht that he took them from being 8th place in the Pro League and taking them from 4th place and then 3rd place, including a cup final last year, with a relatively very young team, inexperienced team. I think it was one of the youngest teams in the Pro League in Belgium. And keep in mind as well, he also sold a lot of their good players, like a Lakonga, like a Salamakers, like a Doku left as well. So like a lot, even Tielemans, but that was like quite a long time ago. That was before Kompany came in. So they typically have to sell their main players to bring in money, because I think they're in a bit of financial trouble, or at least they was when he first joined. I think they were okay now. They spent a bit more money last year compared to previously, but before they had to sell their best players to really make break even, and they didn't really reinvest that back into the team other than last year, in which they came 3rd and got a cup final with relatively a pretty young team, with the likes of a Josh Cullen, the likes of a Xerxes on loan from Bayern Munich as well. It's not a bad team, but it's a very different team and a very different style to what he'd be having at Burnley. In the English leagues, it's going to be a very, very different style, and this is going to be exciting to see what can Kompany do in England. Now, I will say this, for me, when I look at this, I think one massive factor, the fact that Kompany has come to Burnley, is the fact that it's around the northwest. His missus, of course, she's a City fan around Manchester. I think the fact that Burnley is only like a 45-minute drive from Manchester, I think that's a massive factor as well of why he picked Burnley. Because people are thinking, why would Kompany go to Burnley in the Championship? Like, why would he do that when he could have options of teams in the Bundesliga or in France, Nice, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Schalke? These are 3 teams that was linked with him in the last month. So people are asking, why on earth would he go to Burnley? Well, one factor I think which is quite big is the fact that his missus, his children, his family, are from the northwest area. I think that's a big factor. Maybe feeling homesick. I don't want to speak on behalf of him, but I think that's a factor of it. And also the fact of the matter is that even though you could be a decent manager in Nice or for Borussia Mönchengladbach, if he could be the man to take Burnley to the Premier League, that will instantly boost up his reputation. Now, I will honestly go into this knowing by the fact of the matter that he will see Burnley as a stepping stone. Quite evidently, he's not going to be one to be at Burnley, I don't think, for the long run. And to be fair, most managers aren't going to be a Sean Dyche. And that's the thing that Burnley fans will have to kind of just wrap their head around, the fact that not every manager is a Sean Dyche. He may be here for 3 years. He may, let's say it all goes perfectly right, we get promoted this year or next year. Let's say this year we have a good year, maybe make playoffs, but we couldn't make it up, and then next year you can stay on, and hopefully then that's the year. That'll be. I mean, I don't want to say that. I don't think we'll win the league. I don't think, unless we bring in a lot of new players, a lot of depth, which is possible, but there's a lot of question marks there. I would say a top 6 is ideally that's the main hope, because I think on paper, even with the likes of Veghorst and Cornet going, we still have a pretty good team for the Championship. And with Kompany, what kind of play style does he play? Well, according to from what I've gathered from over in Belgium, he plays a fluid 4-4-2, but the thing is, I don't think that's locked in stone, because when he first joined Anderlecht, he played a 4-3-3. Then the next year, he played a 4-4-2, which is seen as a bit more of a defensive style. He is seen as a more defensive manager than a progressive attacking manager. And of course, he is literally raised with the likes of, well, not raised, but he's seen the best managers in world football coach him, if it's a Pep Guardiola's and Mancini's, and he'll be taking little bits from, every manager that he's been a part of, and he's seen, even from the Belgium level as well. So he's got a lot of experience seeing the best of the best here. Does that mean that he'd be the best himself? We don't know yet. This is the beauty of this transfer, that every appointment is a risk. There's a risk of everyone. Even if he brought in what you would see is a very experienced and safe pair of hands, maybe like Daniel Farke. He's done great for Norwich, back-to-back promotions, and people would have thought, oh, he'd be the best man because he knows how to get out of the championship. But in terms of longer picture, he's got one of the worst Premier League records probably in Premier League history, with Norwich and the way that he plays. So, Kompany, it brings that risk, but so does every manager, really. And in terms of if it works, this would be such a genius play by Alan Pace. By Alan Pace, he wants to try to change I've met Alan Pace 3 times. I've spoke to him. He's a humble guy. I like the guy. And I think that his heart is in the right place when it comes to Burnley. I know some Burnley fans really have been asking questions about, is his heart in it? Is he just a PR guy? From when I've spoken to him for the periods that I have, I believe that his heart is in it. He's brought his entire family over to Burnley. He's moved to the local area. He's there day in, day out at Turf Moor every day. He's going to the colleges. He's going to everywhere he could possibly be in the community. I think that he is the guy that... I think that his heart's in the right place. I think he wants to try and move the club forward. He's changing a lot of the club, into not just in terms of how it's perceived, but also commercially as well. Our kind of Brexit mentality, a Brexit kind of viewpoint from the outside world, it harmed us massively. We finished 7th. We came 7th in the Premier League. We got into Europe, man. And we still couldn't really get out of our kind of Brexit Burnley, idea of a football club, which harmed other players coming to us. And also, fast matter as well, wages. We didn't really offer that much wages because we didn't have that much money. That's why we had to bring in a new ownership of Alan Pace to hopefully change that. So I do think it's quite unfair for a lot of fans to point fingers at Alan Pace and say that he's the main issue, because he's not. Yes, it looks bad, the fact that, he's joined, then a year later we go down. But the players that he's brought in, I would say, are all been good players. Even Weghorst. People are really pointing fingers at Weghorst, saying that, he's worse than Chris Wood. He's a bit worse signing we've ever had. I don't think he is. I still stick with the idea. I like to be consistent to my thoughts. I like Weghorst to the fact that I think that he's a good footballer. There is clearly a attitude problem that he has, an ego problem that he has. That's a guarantee. He definitely does have an ego problem, which has been shown quite a few times. At Watford away, he was playing quite poorly, got subbed off, and then we went on to win that game 2-1 when Ashley Barnes got subbed on for him, and Ashley Barnes played a factor of winning that game. Now, the fact of the matter is, we saw that when he got subbed off, he was having a bit of a fuss. He was, in other terms, throwing his toys at the pram a bit. Because I feel like Weghorst, keep in mind, he was playing in a Champions League last season. In the same season that he was being played in Champions League for Wolfsburg, after getting them into the top 4, he then in the same season is now being subbed off and having a poor performance against Watford in a relegation battle. So for him, he has this big fish in a small pond mentality, which is a big problem, because we're seeing Cornet, who has a similar track record to Weghorst, coming from Champions League, coming to Burnley in a relegation dogfight. But Cornet's performed, and also as personality-wise, never looked like a kiss of fuss, or never has, from what anyone can see, unless we don't know things behind the scenes. But far as we can gather, everyone loves him, and from what we've seen from him, he's always been there and been really connected to the fans. Always there at the end of every single game, clapping off the fans, win, lose or draw. And even after we've been relegated, he does a very heartfelt Instagram post sounding like he would like to stay. And if he can stay, he will. Do I think he will? I doubt it, because if a team does come in, I would wish Cornet to to have the best opportunities. I won't be selfish in terms of I would love Cornet. If you have Cornet in the Championship, that'd be amazing. But if he does move on, I wish him the absolute best because he's done the most that he can for Burnley and has been respectful at the same time. I've said a comment here of someone saying, I look at this appointment just like when Vizeh was appointed for Palace. People were uncertain of the job he could do as a result of his stint at Nice. Vinny has only adapted and improved at Anderlecht. I'm sure he'll have a steady sailing season, draw merchants of the league. And I think that's that's a reasonable comparison between him and Patrick Vieira. That I do remember a lot of people really had a lot of questions about Vieira, thinking that this is a big risk. And keep it in mind as well, boys, Vincent Kompany was meant to be the Burnley manager even if we stayed up. If we stayed up in the Premier League, he was the plan. I think it was the main plan the entire time, Vincent Kompany. And the fact we've still gone down and he still has come to us means that there's a lot been promised to him. Now, as I said in my previous video, this makes me happy in terms of this confirms to me that this financial collapse that TalkSport and the likes just keeps waffling out is nowhere near as bad as what people like to believe. Our finances cannot be as bad as what people like to think, because if it was, there's no way that Kompany would come to us. We have to try to lure in Kompany. We've got to try to sell ourselves to Kompany for him to come to us. Because in reality, Kompany can just go to a decent-sized club in Germany or France. He doesn't really need to take the risk to go to Burnley unless that he's promised and he's been shown promising signs with the board that he sees a great project here. Because again, Kompany could have gone to a Borussia Mönchengladbach or Schalke or a Nice or go to somewhere in France. He could have done that quite easily and picked up a nice little steady career there at a decent-sized club. But no, he's taking a risk here. Because in theory, from the outside world, to a lot of people, they think that Burnley's in freefall. So they keep thinking that, but he must be seeing something that we're not seeing. And I still don't believe that our finances is nowhere near as bad as what people like to make out to believe. I think there's some question marks, but we don't really know what they actually are. That's the thing, we don't know for sure. Is it this bad or is it this good? But from what I'm seeing it makes me think that it's nowhere near as bad. Because there's no way that he would come to us if he thinks that it'd be a massive risk. So if Kompany was meant to be the manager for us in the Premier League, I feel like I'm much more like happy with him coming to us in the Championship, because that means that even if he has got that bit of rawness to his managerial expertise, he can learn partially on the job and can experiment, can maybe make a mistake in the Championship because he will have that leniency too. Because in Championship, there's 46 games. In the Championship, it is a lot less punishing in comparison to the Premier League. Because if it was in Premier League, I would have a lot more concerns because it is a very risky managerial appointment. But what is genius, and I get why Pace has done this, is that Kompany will change the outlook of a club massively. Not just because it's Vincent Kompany, but also because he will be bringing in a lot of younger players as well. Because do I think that there is a massive factor, the fact that, yes, because it's Kompany, therefore more players will want to come because it's Vincent Kompany? I think that could be the factor for younger players, not older players. If you're a young 21-year-old, which let's say a Scott Twine, for example. If you're Scott Twine, would he maybe pick Burnley now ahead of a Norwich? Because there's other teams that want Scott Twine. Would he now pick a Burnley because of Vincent Kompany? Do I think that's the case? I don't know. You guys tell me. Howard Bellis as well, been linked a lot. There'll be some Belgian players linked a lot. And I expect in the next 2-3 weeks to be a lot of players coming through the door that is heavily linked with Vincent Kompany. Man City connections, Belgium connections, Pro League connections. There'll be a lot of links being flying all over the place. And they have to be done quite fast because, as I showed you guys here, we have got 17 senior players here. So that's my kind of all-round thoughts. I'm buzzing, of course, as you would expect, because this has been a long time in the making, and because we can now crack on now. The club has been in a bit of limbo for the last couple of weeks, thinking, okay, is this happening? Is that happening? Who's going? Who's coming in? Who's staying? A lot of question marks, okay, which makes a lot of Burnley fans very, very agitated. I I just wanted this to be confirmed. Just so that now it's confirmed, we can now crack on. Right now, I mean, my main hope is to at least get top 6. I think that our team is good enough to be top 6. Even if Vegos and Kone and Pup even still goals, I still think it's good, even with what we have right now. So if he adds in some depth, some fresh faces to fight for some positions, I think Burnley could be in a good position next year. And will Kompany have the right tactical nous to take us forward? Have to find out. So I'll see you guys next time in a video, and stay safe, lads.